College basketball. I'm going to give you my top five. I'm going to give you my top five, and you all are going to bitch, whine, and moan. Because in the Big Ten, if you don't put the Sparty in there, let me back up. Michigan State. I'm looking at you. Can you at least have some academic standards? Can you at least have some alumni that can think? Anyone. Now look, Draymond Green's the best interview I've ever done. I'll give you him. But the rest of these idiots, all you got to do yourself a favor. If you want to have fun on Twitter, just do yourself a favor and say, man, I think Sparty stinks in whatever sport. That's all you got to say. You know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is every one of these little sycophants is going to lose their mind. I've used sycophants twice today. Sometimes when I get stuck on a word, I can't get off of it. I hate it. But anyway, just say Sparty stinks. It doesn't even matter. Mel Tucker, overpaid. Now, don't mess around with Izzo, because Izzo's really good, and Izzo's one of the few coaches that will actually have the balls to discipline a player or yell at a player. I mean, in this age of, hey, let's kiss everybody's ass, All right, let's go through it. My top five, BYU. Mark Pope is a terrific coach. And if you don't like it, I don't care. I don't have any interest in arguing with you about this. You think teams are great because ESPN thinks you're great. One of the things that ESPN is missing is guys that actually know a little bit about basketball doing their games. And one of the great stories is what Mark Pope has gone and done out there at BYU, and not just this year, but last year as well. And here's the other thing. You guys that have radio shows, if you want somebody interesting on your program, go ahead and get you some Mark Pope. Mark Pope is interesting. Mark Pope is fun. Mark Pope doesn't take himself too seriously. Mark Pope isn't sitting there like an old curmudgeon, acting like a jackass. Mark Pope has won a championship as a player at Kentucky. You will love Mark Pope. And when I watch Mark Pope's team, and I'm not going to bore you with 15 different guys, well, this guy scored. It's like some of our analysts close their eyes and say, well, you know, Jimmy Joe Jackson scores 16 points a game. He gets 8 rebounds. No, I don't do that. I tell you this. When I watch BYU play, I see 3 things. Number one, I see a talented team. I see an uber talented team. I see a team that can shoot the basketball. I see a team that and you're going to not like this. You're going to not like me for this, and that's fine. But BYU's lost one game, and it's to Utah Valley, which should not put them in my top 5. But when I watch them play, I really like them. They beat the snot out of Oregon. They beat San Diego State. They beat the snot out of Utah. When I watch them play, and they got a big game against Utah State coming up on Wednesday night, I love the way BYU plays. They got this kid Barcelo who just makes every shot that he takes. If you don't like him, that's just because you don't like Mormons. I want to be like these professors. Well, I like Mormons. I got no problem with Mormons. I got no problem with anybody. I like them. I stand by them. I like BYU. I think BYU is a tough out. Next week, they won't be in my top 5. But this week, they're in my top 5. All right, who's ready for Freddie? You ready for some more? Number 4. The Arizona Wildcats, is that what they're called? Are they allowed to be called the Wildcats? I mean, is Wildcat some kind of derogatory-ist name? I don't know. But the bottom line is this. Sean Miller and all of his little, pansy-ass cheating ways, all his little pussy boy, I got to cheat here, I got to cheat there, I got to be so soft that I can't do it on my own. He's out. Arizona is in. Arizona is 7-2. Arizona is really good. When I watch Arizona play, I watch them play Michigan. They beat the living hell out of Michigan. They didn't beat Michigan a little bit. They beat Michigan standing on their frickin' head. I mean, they went into Oregon State and beat them by 25 last night. They beat Wichita. I'm reading all of this stuff. I don't even care. I'm going to get into something else that I've seen, and it's called Sack Up here in a minute, and it involves Arizona. But to me, Arizona is the biggest surprise in the country. There's a kid named Mahurin. His name is Benedict Mahurin. Benedict Mahurin is one of the great players in college basketball. Now, you haven't heard of Benedict Mahurin. Hell, I haven't heard about Benedict Mahurin. He's from Montreal. Who the hell ever played good from Montreal in basketball? I mean, I remember when Gary Carter came up as a baseball player. I remember Alice Valentine, Warren Cromartie, Tim Raines. I remember that. But as a hooper, No. This guy had 29 last night. Look, Arizona's really good. Arizona right now is getting no respect. Arizona right now is a team that no one's heard of, no one cares about, because really, let's be honest, no one cares about college basketball right now since I'm not on it. But I get it. Arizona is damn good. Pay attention to Arizona basketball if you're paying attention to basketball. Numero 3, the Duke Blue Devils. Now look, it's the Mike Szyszewski Love Me Tour. Oh, love me. Love me. I've been here so long. I remember being in a Denny's with John Feinstein, and somebody said after they got their ass kicked in year 3 of Mike Krzyzewski's reign, by Georgia Tech, somebody at the Denny's said, let's forget this night ever happened. And Szyszewski said, no, let's never forget this night. And Tom Butters, the AD, stayed with him, and blah, 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 blah. I like Mike Krzyzewski. He's always been good to me, and I've been good to him. But what Mike Krzyzewski is doing this year is difficult, because Mike Krzyzewski has this group of freshmen, and Mike Krzyzewski's team is playing better than 99.9% of the teams in college basketball, and I'm not sure why. Like, you got a guy in Banchero who is really good, don't get me wrong, but Banchero isn't smart enough not to go out midweek drinking. And so he ends up getting his buddy in trouble. So what I'm saying to you is this: Mike Krzyzewski's team looks really, really well coached, really well schooled, but they got immature guys. Or at least their best player is an immature guy. And his grandson's an immature guy. That's hard to overcome in college athletics. It really is. You may not think so, but it really is. So salute to Mike Krzyzewski. Mike Krzyzewski's team is 7-1. They've played a difficult schedule. Of course, they've not played on anybody's home turf, because Mike Krzyzewski doesn't do that other than the ACC Big Ten Challenge. And when they do, they usually get their ass kicked, which they did against Ohio State. But now Mike Krzyzewski goes into South Carolina State, Appalachian State, and Cleveland State, and then he starts the ACC tournament. I like their team. I like their team because it's so well coached. And I see so many poorly coached teams in college basketball. Salute, Mike Krzyzewski. I know Mike still tries to act like he's from Chicago and all that stuff. So, hey, Mike, good job, man. Hey, good. Let's go get a hot dog. Huh? We get a hot dog, we're all good. That's a combination New York-Chicago accent. It's not my best. It's not my worst, but it's not my best. All right. College basketball's number 2 team, in my opinion, was last year's national champion, the Baylor Bears. Now, when Scott Drew first came to Baylor, you got to understand, they had a murder. Yes, a murder. And they had an idiot named Dave Bliss, who Dave Bliss, the coach at Baylor, who had a murder on his team, tried to cover it up by saying that the kid that got murdered was a drug dealer. Bob Knight was Dave Bliss's boss way back. I remember Bob Knight telling me 2 things about Dave Bliss. 1, he's the smartest guy he's ever been around, and 2, he's a corrupt guy that's eventually going to get in trouble, and he did. So Scott Drew takes this job. Scott Drew takes this job in the middle of the season. They don't play. He puts a team together. Next thing you know, they win a national championship about 20 years later. Everybody says Scott Drew can't coach. The world says Scott Drew's a bad guy. Everybody, blah, 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 because that's what we do. Because Scott Drew, basically, when he came into Baylor, was bad-mouthing the legends of the game in recruiting. You know what I say to the legends of the game? Legends of the game, until you guys get off your ass and try to straighten out the game, I got no respect for you. So Scott Drew came in and did his thing, all right? Scott Drew ends up winning a national championship, and a lot of people said, see, I told you Scott Drew could really coach. Fine, Scott Drew can really coach. Now, Scott Drew loses a bunch of guys. Interesting. What's Scott Drew going to do? I don't know. How about become 8-0? How about piece together a team of guys, of transfers, of guys that now it's their chance, and next thing you know, whip a bunch of ass and become the number 2 team in the country. Now let's look at who they've beaten. They've beaten Michigan State. They've beaten VCU. You know, Bobby Hurley, was supposed to be the next big thing out at Arizona State. They got beat by 12 by Baylor. Stanford, ass kicked. End of the day, Scott Drew can really coach. End of the day, Scott Drew can really recruit. End of the day, Scott Drew can really get guys to play in a manner with which, I don't know, a guy that averaged 3 points a game last year for him, L.J. Cryer, is now averaging 15 and a half for him. That's coaching. That's coaching. One of the biggest pains in the ass in college basketball is a guy named Aquino. So this guy named Aquino, James Aquino, he goes to play for Patrick Ewing. All right, he's their leading scorer. Good for Aquino. He transfers somewhere else. Hell, I don't even know where he was. Plays well, pain in the ass, transfers now to Baylor. Key to Baylor team is going to be Aquino. Because so far, Aquino's averaging 10.7 assists. Shooting 40% from the field, 42% from the 41% from the three. Now, if this guy goes sideways, then Baylor might have a problem. But Scott Drew doesn't let guys go sideways. I love what Scott Drew's doing. Good for Scott Drew. He's from Northwest Indiana, where I'm from. Although he's from a little bit east in Valpo, which might as well be South Bend. But I like Scott Drew. I like the fact that Scott Drew, after winning a championship, is bouncing back. But my favorite team, and this pains me to say, the number one team in the country, and it's going to be named that later on today, are the Purdue Boilermakers. Make no mistake, Matt Painter is my favorite college basketball coach, not named Andrew Dakich. Why do you say that, Dan? Well, I'll tell you why. A couple years ago, Matt Painter had two pains in the ass in his program. One was named No-Gel Eastern, a kid who was a terrific defensive player, a kid who couldn't make a bucket from 6 feet, a kid who had a mommy on Twitter who was a complete idiot and a complete pain in the ass. The other kid was Matt Harms, 7'3". Matt Harms was discovered by Purdue. Matt Harms was redshirted by Purdue. Matt Harms was developed by Purdue. Matt Harms decided in his last year, I don't like Purdue. So he transferred to BYU. No-Gel Eastern decided, I'm going to go to the NBA. Well, the NBA wasn't interested. So he said, I'm going to go to Michigan. Michigan didn't know he was going there. No-Gel Eastern, I'm not going to Michigan. Why? Because, they couldn't let me in. Okay, I don't know whether that's true or not. No-Gel Eastern decides, I'm going to a historically black college. Okay, doesn't play. I don't know where No-Gel Eastern is. Harms goes 1 year, plays our. I don't know where Matt Harms is. I know where Matt Painter is. Matt Painter, after these two guys left, came on my radio show. And he did what every media member in the country cries about. Oh my God, he insulted 18 to 23-year-olds. Oh, how dare he insult 18 to 23. We're supposed to bow down. We're supposed to kiss the ass of 18 to 23-year-olds because 18 to 23-year-olds do all the work. I mean, let's be honest. If it weren't for 18 to 23-year-olds, college basketball would mean nothing. What a load of crap. No, I'm sorry. What a load of bullshit. Take the North Carolina name off of Tyler Hansbrough. Put the Fort Wayne Mad Ants name on him. Nobody knew who he was. Name a player. Same thing. Shut up with all that college athlete. You can find, look, these guys don't want to play. Somebody else to play. It's a stupid argument. But anyway, Painter came on my show and said, look, these two guys aren't Boilermakers. These two guys quit. These two guys didn't have sack enough. And you know what? The college basketball world, oh my God, the local yokels in Indy, he's mean to players. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. So all does Matt Painter do 2 years later? I don't know. Well, actually that year, goes to the Elite Eight. 2 years later, he's number one in the country. Matt Painter can coach. Matt Painter's, you should be your favorite coach. I know all of you guys that want to be cool and hip and say, oh man, players are being exploited. No, they're not. No, they're really not. And all my media friends that played and coached in NCAA basketball that says they know privately they're lying. They know privately it's a shtick. Matt Painter doesn't give in. Matt Painter took over for Gene Cady, and Matt Painter has done a great job. They're my number one team in the country. Frankly, I hope they don't lose. I hope Purdue goes undefeated, and I hope Purdue breaks or becomes the next team after Bob Knight's 76 national championship team. That would make Indiana people crazy, and that would make Bob Knight and his writer buddy Bob Hamill lose their mind, but that's a personal thing. I got a lot more to say to you people, including bragging about my winning, including giving you some bets. I've made a commitment. When we come back, I'm going to tell you a commitment that I've made that's going to make you money. Stay with us. Don't leave.